Hello again. It's been about 10 days since we last did an episode. Quite a bit's happened in that time. We've played 2 games. Obviously, the loss down at Luton, and probably a poor performance in the main, you might say. And then we saw us bounce back with victory against Peterborough, and possibly one of the best performances we've seen at Valley Parade in years. It's also been Valentine's Day for all you lovers out there. I actually booked a table for me and our lass. Never doing that again. She only potted one ball. So yeah, I'll not bother doing that in the future. So yeah, joined by Ash and Leon in today's episode, and we'll go through the Peterborough game to start with. But before we get into that, did you celebrate Valentine's, Ash, or were you more interested in the football on Saturday?
Yeah, more interested in football really. So was Sally as well. So it's quite nice to have a missus that don't really bother about Valentine's Day. We got some food from Farm Shop, but that's about it really.
Did you? Was it were them curry meal deals, whatever they do?
No, got like a couple of steaks, 2 sides, 2 desserts. It was nice.
Nice one. No scrapping in car park out now.
No.
Oh. And on that note, Leon, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad, thanks, mate. How are you?
Good, yeah. And you said to me that you don't really do Valentine's Day, so I'm sure that you were football and that were about it on Saturday for you.
Well, I mean, I'm the cook in the house anyway, so I cook tea, and I did something that she likes. She likes sea bass, so a bit of sea bass with a bit of pesto on it and some new potatoes. And I bought a slightly posher bottle of red wine as well, but she doesn't drink that. So
Nice. I like it. So we obviously all went to the game first of all, and that was fantastic, and we'll come to that. And I did the same. Cooked our last meal. We had like this tear and share stuff with camembert, and then we had steak as well. You can't really knock it, can you? It's as good as out. So yeah, let's move on to the actual game. So Peterborough was the last time we played, and if we play that again for the rest of my life, I'll be more than happy. Anybody want to start on Peterborough?
Complete dominance. I'm quite speechless, really. Like it were 2-0. You could be maybe a little bit disappointed it wasn't more, but we were completely in control. I thought Alex Bass started off really poorly and then probably saved them from an absolute mauling in the end.
I said at the start, I said, fucking hell, our keeper's a calamity after about 10 minutes or whatever it was. And somebody said to me, it's Alex Bass. I went, never. Because he were all right he made a few howlers when he were at us, but in general, he were a pretty good goalkeeper, wasn't he? And I think he were at Notts County, I think maybe the season before, he did a good job there. And I couldn't believe it were him. And then, like you say, as the game went on, he got better and better and probably saved them from losing 7 or 8-0. I think you might argue that our finishing, possibly Max Power in general, were a little bit to desired. But apart from that, it were brilliant. Just the way we controlled the game, they didn't lay a glove on us. Did they have one shot on target? I think Ash in the end, maybe.
Yeah, it definitely was one at one point. I didn't see the final stats on it, but not many anyway.
Yeah, not at all. And Leon, your thoughts, mate, on the game?
Well, it was really enjoyable for a start. You know those kind of games where you're actually laughing, like I can't believe he did that or whatever, but in a good way rather than like remember when Jan Songo sat on the ball and lost it? That were like laughing about it and he couldn't find it. But no, stuff like I mean, we've chatted since the game. Curtis Tilt doing multiple drag backs and then attempting like a Ronaldo chop on the edge of the box. So no, it were really good fun, and it was nice to sort of control a game like that, considering how we've struggled recently. And I think it highlights just how important confidence is in football. You know, like we were playing with zero confidence. We talked on the last one about the Lincoln game. I think it was the last one. No confidence whatsoever, just getting rid of it. You know, wingers wide men turning back and giving it back and recycling it. But we just looked forward every single time. And I know we'll probably talk about him specifically later, but Jensen Metcalfe were like the epitome of that. You know, every time he got the ball, he looked to play forward and took responsibility. But yeah, extremely enjoyable game.
I said this after. I said I can't remember a performance like from an individual he was just everywhere. He reminded me of Stevie Gerrard and that sort of just being everywhere, doing everything, pinging balls out. I mean, there's somebody's put a bit of a compilation together, and he's just doing them one touch balls sort of round it, and it makes it look so easy, but that's such a difficult skill. But he knew we were there, and he was kind of behind him, and he couldn't see him, but it would pinpoint to his feet, and like you say, little pirouettes around 3 or 4 men in the middle, give it to Max Power, who then lost the ball. He had a good game, Max Power. I'm not going to go in there, but yeah, it just I can't remember a performance like it from a midfield. I mean, people bring up Cullen as being exceptional when he were here. Different players, really, in what they offer. Similar sort of role, but different. But genuinely, I can't remember. I don't know if you can, Lee, on a performance like that, especially from a City player, in so long.
I think I don't think I can, no. But just in terms of the Cullen comparisons, I think you're right. They're a different kind of player. So you're comparing apples with oranges, really, in terms of what they bring to the game. Cullen wasn't as dynamic, but he was like more of a metronome for the team, I think. And also, it's genuinely hard to compare 10 years apart. You know, it's a different game as the years go by. You know, League One is a lot more technical than it was when Cullen were playing. You know, and if you know, you can keep going back in time. If you ever get a chance to look at City v Blackpool in the '96 playoff semi-final away, it's like Sunday League compared to modern football. You know, it were exciting to watch, but the actual technical quality. So yeah, comparing different eras is very difficult. I personally think he'll go a bit higher than Cullen and get there quicker, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I guess Cullen is Premier League, but I guess a team that aren't quite as impressive in the Premier League. So I know what you're saying. I think that he's on the ball more as well than what Cullen used to be. He wasn't really a ball player midfielder. I won't suggest. Good player, but for us, I think he was more defensive minded. One to try and recycle the ball and get us going again. But yeah, so impressed by Metcalfe. And I don't know if you guys have got any tips for making a cardboard. Can I have your shirt sort of thing? I might fancy standing in the bottom of the cop on Tuesday and trying to get a shirt. I jest because I fucking can't. I can't stand all like that. Yeah, throwing apples and pears at the back of my head. But yeah, he is that good. And funny on that topic, a lad tweeted when we said that we were going to record today, and he's got the shirt. He's got like a Jensen Metcalfe signed shirt, and he said this could be worth a few quid in a few years. And it genuinely does look like that. And Ash, from your perspective, what are your thoughts? And do you think, like Leon said, that he's a sort of player that can get to the sort of top of the game?
Yeah, definitely. Like for his age, he's definitely wise beyond his age. He's like at times he's put Max Power to shame, really. But at the same time, I feel like he's got a good apprenticeship under Max Power, really. But if we go back to the game as well, Peterborough, Baldwin got the man of the match, and it's like I think anyone could have got man at match there, really. Bar Sam Walker, really, because obviously he didn't have much to do. But like 7s and 8s, 9s and 10s, like on that day, really.
That's fair.
So
I was shouting
complete team performance.
I lost my head a bit when they announced man at match, and look, take note away, Aidan Baldwin was fantastic, and I want to come back to him individually. But I was like, how is it not Metcalfe? I've never seen a performance like it. But my cousin who I sit with said Baldwin was absolutely fantastic today. Like, you can't really be mad at it. It's not like some weeks you see us play poorly or whatever, and then Bobby gets it because he's obviously a fan favourite and what have you, or Andy Cook used to get it. Like you said, Aidan Baldwin easily deserved it. But I think for me, I admire that midfield position so much when you're good at it, because I think it's probably the hardest position on the field, in my opinion, to be really good at. And I just thought it was so good. But you're right on Aidan Baldwin and on his performance, Ash. Like, I think a lot of people were saying that he wouldn't make it in League One. He's not going to be good enough based on his League Two with us. He's more than good enough, and he's without doubt our best centre half at the club.
Yeah, definitely. It's like you go back to Doncaster. Like, I'll admit, like half time at that game, I put a tweet out there, I never want to see him again. A few expletives, but a couple of days later, I did retract it, saying he's had a good season. He lost his head. He's still got a place in team for me, and he's been absolutely quality, hasn't he? Like, them balls across, like, they're just amazing. And he does.
They're on the button
5
every
or 6
time
of them a game, don't they? Yeah,
and
perfect.
he just finds his man, and I don't know. I think when he's not in the team, he's a bit like Sarcevic from that perspective, where we really really miss him, and you can't really replace him with what we've got. And I think Tilt sometimes. Look, I'm not laughing at him because I absolutely love him, but he tries to do the same sort of balls, and they're not quite. He did do one actually in that game, and it were on the money. But in general, they're not quite there. But yeah, I think he's fantastic, and I don't know who's the vice captain. Do you know? Is it Sarcevic?
I don't know. I'd imagine it would be, but
I don't actually know.
I don't think I've ever seen it sort of published anywhere.
Because you'd like to think Baldwin's probably got a shout as well, because he's always shouting and carrying on at back, isn't he? And some people say Tilt's a leader, but I just think he's a psychopath. He scares me. Just Tilt, and I mean that in a good way. You know, I put a tweet out about him. You know, doing all his little turns and what have you. But the way he runs, he just looks like he's going to murder someone, doesn't he? Every time he's running, like there's almost like music playing in my head.
There's quite a few times.
Leon,
I was just going to say, there's quite a few times where you think you can tell that the opposition player's shitting himself because he's proper flying in, and he's actually quite controlled when he gets to the point of contact, isn't he? You know, he's not a thug, but he is scary, and you wouldn't like coming up against him. I don't think.
Honestly, watching him, it was like Marcelo, whatever you want to call him. You know, the Brazilian fullback in that second half, you know, overlapping money, and he was flip-flapping with ball, you know, pirouetting around. And I'm like, watching it thinking, this is, like you're touching on what you said earlier, so entertaining. And we were so relaxed. You're laughing about a game at Bradford City. That's very rare. I think the last time that it was kind of like that for me, from what I can remember, Wembley Part 2, you know, when we played Northampton 2013, and it was just done, wasn't it? So quickly. And you had fun there, and it was very much the same, and just looked like they were never going to get back in the game. But yeah, Curtis Tilt's a cult hero for me. I'm sure he did a Maradona turn. Whether I imagined it or not, I'm not sure. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. But again, looking at your back three,
I was ready for him to come off at half time.
Yeah,
I said he needs to come off at half time because he got booked and then he nearly scored an own goal. And I thought, I don't want him living on edge on a yellow card. But then he just turned. I don't know what he turned into in the second half. He was just on it, wasn't he? He was just a dominance I think he had, though, wasn't it, really?
He did the same at Luton, and I thought a red card waiting to happen. I was sort of praying that they'd hook him because he's got that like fire in his belly, and he was offering somebody out down the tunnel, wasn't he, at Luton? He was asking him to go in car park to scrap him and what have you. So, in a way, you like that fire in the belly of a player, but then you're waiting for a red card, which you think will come. And Leon mentioned this, I think, on a couple of episodes ago, that you hated him when he played against you, and I think it's the same for opposite fans at the minute. And it's just a joy to watch. And is that a cult hero? A bit like that Songo sort of status, where you know they do have a bit of an error in him, but they work so hard. And he just, like I say, the way he runs, I just love it, Leon. I absolutely love it.
It's funny as well. You should say about hating him when he played for the other teams. Like I think we mentioned him playing for Salford, and him being, you know, apparently unnecessarily aggressive. And when we signed him, I were not impressed at all. And I actually looked up his stats on Soccer Base, hoping to make a really smart comment on online somewhere about his disciplinary record, and it's absolutely fine. You know, centre halves get sent off once or twice a season generally, don't they? Or maybe, you know, once. Couple of times every 2 or 3 years. It's a sort of an occupational hazard, isn't it? You're the last man, so you're far more. I bet you're statistically far more likely to be sent off. And he's not actually been sent off more than most centre halves, I don't think. You know, and he's not had that many suspensions. So I got that wrong about him, basically. You know, and there is a footballer in there as well. I think we have to give him credit for that.
Absolutely. But I think I'd be the same as you, completely. From what I've seen of him in the past, you think he must have one of the worst records in the EFL for red cards, yellow card accumulation, and what have you, and not at all. So yeah, maybe he just has his moments and then controls that temper. Going back to Aidan Baldwin, Ash, the business, if you remember it, was Matty Platt went one way and Aidan Baldwin came the other way. Now, a lot of Notts County fans were absolutely over the moon with that, saying it's the best business ever for them. I think a lot of City fans were a bit gutted to see Matty Platt go. I, for one, thought it were actually a good bit of business. I didn't really rate Matty Platt that highly. I thought we were a bit of a clogger, to be honest with you. Just somebody who can win a lot of headers. What are your thoughts on that now, looking back, mate? Surely that's again the start of that really good business that we've done over this last sort of couple of years, bringing Aidan Baldwin in.
Yeah, it's a massive upgrade, isn't it, really? Yeah, I'm same as you. I didn't massively rate Platt, to be honest. I can't pretend I knew much about Baldwin, but I don't really listen to opposition fans. Like, it's like our fans do it as well, you know, when somebody leaves, like Burn, an example, and I think he's an all right at Doncaster. So they've said about Lee Evans as well, Blackpool fans, and he looks like he's going to be all right. So, yeah, it's turned out good business, really. Massive fan of Baldwin, really.
Yeah, I think he's brilliant. And it is another one who sort of lives on the edge, but they're the sort of players that win you games or lose your games. And on Baldwin, Ash, I don't know, and I'll come to you, Leon, as well in a minute about this. I were absolutely convinced that were a penalty from where I was at. Honestly, I thought it was the most clear-cut penalty I've seen at Valley Parade in years. And I got loads of stick about it, and you'll have seen it. From where you sat, Ash, what did you see? Just a completely fantastic tackle and what it was?
I sit in lower cop, and I thought I've seen him given, but I just wasn't sure because I wasn't sure about that referee as well. What mood he was going to be in. So it looked like a good tackle, but I've seen him given as well. So it was just a waiting game, really.
Yeah, to me, it didn't even look like he got the ball. It looked like their player knocked it past him and absolutely woodened him. But looking at the replay, he got the ball. His fist pumping in the afterwards to the crowd, which you wouldn't do that, would you? If you fouled somebody, you'd be a little bit more panicky. I just thought it was brilliant. And
I've had to watch the replay a couple of times anyway.
I were, and I was slowing it down and I was watching it from different angles, but he gets the ball, doesn't he? It's there to see, and they're the sort of tackles that need to stay in football because they're as good as a goal. Leon, what about you from where you sat? Were it just a clean tackle?
It was, to be fair, but I think I probably had the best view out of the three of us because I'm a bit further to your left in the upper cop, so I'm a bit closer. I'm basically by the right hand post, you know, the front of the top tier, and I could see over the goal posts, and I could see it was clean, and it was the intent were there. It wasn't gonna think about jockeying or anything. He was like, I'm going for that, and I think sometimes obviously that can be rash. Was it Barrow where he got sent off, where he came straight across and clattered somebody completely unnecessarily, and he would never get in there. But this one, he judged it right, basically. And, it were an hair's breadth. You know, like a split second later, he don't get a touch on the ball and he takes the guy out. But, you know, football's built on those sort of close margins, isn't it? So, no, I thought it were a really good tackle at the time. And I thought he had a great game. There was one of the things that, you know, sometimes when you watch the highlights, and obviously we don't normally get such a long highlights package when you watch it on YouTube a couple of days later, but there's 11 minutes, I think, and there was one where the ball came into one of their forward players about 3 or 4 yards inside their half with his back to goal, and he just steamed in and got in front of him, and I think that were probably emblematic of the confidence that were going through the team. It's like, I know I'm going to get it, I know I'm not taking any risks actually because I'm going to get it, and I think that's what I said about confidence. I don't know where it's come from because it was completely lacking in sort of recent games. But you think about how Lincoln played against us, and I think I might have said either online or in a chat that we Lincolned them basically. We just never let them off. Every time we got the ball, we're putting it over their right wide defenders. You know, Baldwin's one of the sort of chief architects of that, and we were getting that ball right pretty much every time. And I don't know why. I mean, I actually did some research tonight because I'm getting a bit big for my boots doing this stuff. And I looked up, and
I'm glad somebody does, by the way.
To be fair to Peterborough, their average age was 22, the outfield players, and Bats is only 27. So their oldest outfield player is 26. The back four's 21 and a half average. So they were a young set of players, very inexperienced, probably no real leader. The captain were playing, I think he's the left back, but that Tom Lees who pulled up in the warm up, he's the most experienced defender, I think. So I think it were in our. I'm not saying we got lucky, but it were in our favour. That, to be fair, But yeah, we never let them up, and we didn't ease off in the second half either. You know, 2-0. I totally understand game management in the last couple of minutes where you take it into the corner, even though there might be something on in the middle, because you just don't want to lose. You know, but it were a 2-0 lead, not a 1-0 lead. But we kept going, you know, and we kept trying to attack. And when you were mentioning about Curtis Tilt bombing forward and overlapping, I don't know if you noticed that Max Power was bombing forward far more than we've seen him do. And there's one that where he set up the chance for Nerful that the keeper tipped onto the bar. Power got the ball on the edge of the box on the left hand side, and he just took his man on and pulled it back. And I've not seen him do that before. So, you know, long may that continue, basically.
You just hope it's not like a home thing. Look, if we play like that at home every week, fantastic. But you'd like to see that converted to away form as well. Alexander made some interesting comments about you've got one life, go for it sort of thing, and I think that came across, and I hope that that's instilled in the players for the next few games, and they've got a bit of confidence now. We'll touch on Stockport, not an easy game by any stretch at all. They're on pretty good form as well, and we'll come back to that. But just playing like they did on the front foot, just fighting for every ball. You know, even from the start as well, they were out, weren't they, like a shot, and we looked like we were going to win. Like we've done that before in games where the first 10, 15 minutes we look really good and we haven't scored, and then we've sort of let the opposition come back into it. But Saturday, we had its foot on the throat the whole way through the game, and they were panicking every time they got the ball. And like you mentioned on the players, you could tell they were young. They just didn't want it. They didn't look like they had a fight in them at all on Saturday. I just thought, this is so easy. But I think we made them look poor as well because we were that good. It was like a bit of a combination of the two. Any other thoughts, Ash, from yourself on the game? Anything we've not discussed about any players? I guess, obviously, Caden Jackson got his goal. Bobby got the goal as well. Any other performances that you want to pick out from Saturday's game?
Yeah, I like to go back to Max Power, actually, because, to be honest, he does really frustrate me sometimes. But I think recently his attitude's changed massively. I think Alexander's had a word with him, you know, because you know when he used to shout at everyone, blame everyone for everything. His attitude's changed now. I feel like he, you know, claps good passes. You know, if someone has a good chance, he'll clap that. And I think it's a nice change because he just seems to have a better attitude, and I think he's actually playing a bit better for it as well.
Yeah, maybe Alexander's took the pressure off him a bit as well and just said, look, play your game. Don't worry too much about what everybody else is doing. But you're in between a rock and hard place there as a captain because that's what's expected of you. And he's that traditional old school sort of captain that wants to do that and lead by example. But I think you're right. We saw a change in him and that confidence, like Leon went into that, you know, turning around players and what have you. So good. And he again could have got man at match quite easily on Saturday. I guess on him, mate, he's now got the yellow card, hasn't he? So he's banned. Is it 2 matches, Ash, that he's banned for? Or is it 1, 2?
2 matches, yeah. To be fair, I think Lee Evans will slot in quite nicely.
Yeah, it's not a bad bit of business that really, is it, to make on the final? Because I mean, without him, you'd be thinking who's going to play it, who's going to slot in there. You'd probably be struggling a little bit, to be honest. But it's probably the one position where we ain't got a lot of depth. I know you've got players who can play there. Baldwin's probably quite easily do it, for example. But it's nice to have somebody that is specifically for that position. And we haven't seen much of Lee Evans. But I think
Tilt in there, the destroyer.
yeah, that'll be a red card immediately. Imagine Tilt. Yeah, can you imagine him having everybody on strings in midfield? Oh, please, if Graham, if you're listening, just one game, just put him in that midfield position for us. Just make our day. Ethan Wheatley as well. I want to touch on him. Came on. Just if we can spare a thought for him tonight, it's 9:15 in the evening, and he's still trying to finish his tea. So if we can always have a moment's silence for him. No, I jest. To be fair, he does everything else right, and he looks so good. He's rapid. He gets in behind. He's making the right runs. He just can't seem to put it in the back of the net. And I think once he does, that confidence will come. And I really like the look of him. Leon, I know that you sort of said something similar. What were your thoughts on his sort of cameo?
I was impressed, actually. He's incredibly fast. I mean,
rapid, isn't he?
Jackson's fast, but he's even faster. and I don't think we've had pure pace for quite a while. And I think he's been very unlucky that his 2 clear-cut chances have come within about 30, 40 seconds of him coming on the pitch. So he fluffed the one at Luton, and both of them clean through as well.
I don't know. Do you think that one on Saturday? I don't think it was as easy because you were a bit of a tighter angle who were coming
that's
in.
Fair,
yeah.
But I think with it coming so early after he came on, and to his credit as well, he made the chance himself with his press. Because he was so fast. We touched on the inexperience of the defenders and stuff, but he took advantage of that, got a clean challenge in. But I was comparing him in the sense that in both instances it was just 1v1, and he didn't quite get it right. But I think you got to give Bass credit for that. I watched it again this evening, and if he could use hindsight and do it again, he'd have gone near post, because Bass actually left his near post pretty uncovered, but he did the cricket fielder's block covering the rest of the goal, and that's where Wheatley went. So it were never getting through him. Do you know what I mean? He didn't come out and do a star jump or anything like that. He just blocked off that part of the goal. But yeah, I think he's at Man United, isn't he? And we've had Man United loanees in the past who've amounted to nothing. I'm thinking, what was he called? John Kane, was it? John O'Kane?
Eddie Johnson as well, I think.
Eddie Johnson, yeah. So obviously not everybody makes it, but he's obviously going to make it as a good pro. Whether it's at Man United, I don't know, but I think he's a good addition. I don't think you can really ask for more than that at this point.
Yeah, and I think it shows that depth and that different sort of players that we've got that can play that number 9. We saw Jackson. I saw team sheet, to be honest, before the game. I'm thinking, why is he playing Jackson as a 9? He's not really a natural 9. He's more sort of that wide forward that likes to drift in. And to be fair, the best bits of play that he did were kind of from drifting in. He put one across and he shot one time, then he got it again and he put it across, and we should have scored from it. But I thought he had a fantastic performance, gives us that little bit of different dynamic. You've got Mullin who can come on and be a bit of a battering ram. And you've got Wheatley, who I think is probably naturally the best out of all the 9s. It's just if he can put everything together and make it happen. Ash, what were your thoughts on Wheatley? Because we've not asked you yet, mate.
I didn't go to Luton, so it was first I've seen him in the flesh. And yeah, he's massive, isn't he? Like, bearing down on defenders. I think once he does get his goal, I think he will kick on. Yeah, a bit unlucky really with that. Like we said earlier, it's his first 30 seconds. He's got that chance and probably should have buried it, but he's just come on cold, hasn't he? Really.
Yeah, it's really fair, and it's again, you're judging him on a couple of opportunities in a couple of games when he's had limited minutes. So I guess hopefully when he's up to speed, we'll see a little bit more from him. And when he relaxes a bit and gets that first goal, I think we'll probably see a different player. Just finally, really on that game. Well, 2 things. The first thing, Leon, is the refereeing performance. Again, we spoke about the Aidan Baldwin decision. I thought that were brilliant looking back, and he's obviously carded their man for it as well, which were even a double down on it. But I don't think there were that many complaints from a refereeing perspective this week.
No, not really. I mean, that was the Baldwin penalty incident was really striking in the fact that not only did he give it, as a clean tackle, but he wasn't having any shenanigans from the other team. I've forgotten what they call Peterborough. He wasn't having any shenanigans from them. I think, to be fair, that young lad who got booked, he kind of put hands on him, didn't he? Because he was right on him immediately after. So he probably just got booked for putting hands on him. But yeah, I didn't think he was great at the time, but I can't remember anything specific. But that might just be because we're just sort of basking in the glow of that performance. I felt like he were a bit finicky. He were giving stuff when he didn't really need to. Stuff where it were just a 50-50. But then when you actually look back on it, there were others that you would have seen free kicks given. I think particularly, the one where Metcalfe won the ball back, Jackson was fouled, and that was the free kick from which Metcalfe hit the post. The way Metcalfe won the ball back there, and a couple of other times, some of the fussier referees might have given that as a foul. And I think it's also worth mentioning that he didn't pull up Jackson for the challenge on the keeper for the first goal. Now, if you watch it back, there's absolutely no reason for him to have pulled it up because Jackson jumped straight up, just trying to get the ball. He didn't put arms on the keeper. He didn't impede him. But whenever they're coming together like that, they always just seem to give a free kick. When the keeper's flapping like that, but he let him flap and he gave the goal. So I think on balance, I don't think we can have any complaints whatsoever.
And it's nice for a change as well because we're not looking for little bits and what have you to blame the referee because we managed to win the game without refereeing decisions, which is how it should be. But I think because of recent weeks and struggling and what have you, I think we have been looking at referee performances in general. He did play a good advantage as well at one point where I think we did get a shot away, but he still pulled it back for the foul. And I think was that the free kick for Jackson, possibly? I don't know. But he did play a good advantage, and it sort of escapes me on what actually happened. But yeah, for me, I'm same camp as you. We're nice not to complain about the referee for once. Ash, any thoughts from you on the officiating on Saturday?
Yeah, no real complaints, to be fair, because he genuinely was the worst referee I've ever seen at Stevenage away. Like, he was absolutely infuriating for both sides as well. So yeah, absolutely no complaints on Saturday, really. He let it flow. Obviously, there are a few little things at the time that you wouldn't agree with, but, as a whole, yeah, no complaints, really.
And just lastly, on the game, I were tweeting midweek about the pitch and really worrying that it was going to cut up after the weather we had. We had obviously snow, we had rain. And I was thinking it's going to be knackered after a game on Saturday and Tuesday. But realistically, that pitch I thought were fine on Saturday, especially when you compare it with like the Grimsby FA Cup match. I don't know if you saw highlights from that. It were like going back to 1970s, wasn't it? They were slipping all over. It was just mud, like a Sunday league field. But it was nice to see that the pitch did seem to be holding up better than it has other years. I know we've had a bit of a break and it's been sort of 2 weeks since another home game. But Ash, it was nice to see that the pitch were in an okay condition and we could still play football on it.
Yeah, to be fair, hats off to groundsmen because if you remember back to like as far as Sunderland in FA Cup, it probably helped us really back then. But they've done so well with it to get it still playing without rain and snow we've had.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not perfect and it's not bowling green, but better than previous years, and it didn't really affect it on Saturday, and especially when you compare it with even Championship Premier League grounds, it's held up really well. And again, Leon, any thoughts from you on that?
No, like Ash says, like we've all got memories of the terrible pitches we've had in the past, and I think there's probably more recent years where it's been really, really bad. And strangely, Mick Doyle has been the head groundsman all that time. Do you know what I mean? So it's obviously, I think he's done an amazing job over the years, making the best of what he's got. But I think, was it maybe about 3 years ago now that the pitch started to be sort of lasting a lot longer in a season? I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was in maybe like the Hughes era. And I don't know what they did because it wasn't even one of those summers where they did a big they publicised all the tractors going in and taking everything off and laying the sand and all that stuff. It was almost like a quiet summer when they did it, but it's been excellent since then. So yeah, I think we've got, well, that's the first of 4 home games in a row, isn't it? So it'll be interesting to see what it's like at the end of that. But then hopefully we'll get into slightly milder weather. So if you can get through that, and it'll obviously get some breaks because it's, we'll be playing away again. Yeah, but I think maybe after tomorrow night, we'll see what it's like then, because it might cut up a bit. It's going to be cold.
Yeah,
it's the weather's been a bit more sort of kind the last couple of days, hasn't it? So it's not rained heavy, and there's not been really any frost. But tomorrow night, I think it's going to be pretty cold, so we'll see what it's like while they're playing on it.
Yeah, absolutely. But the milder weather comment that you made, I don't know where you've got that from, because I thought we were in for another 40 days and 40 nights of rain like we have for the beginning of 2026.
It's been all right over here, down in Halifax.
Well, that's why, isn't it? You're not over Bradford anymore.
We're down at sea level
things
now.
in the BD. yeah, that might be the difference. But I hope you're right, and I hope it lasts out. But look, we're not alone. Our pitch for once isn't one of the worst though, by a long stretch, and they dig it up, don't they, at the end of every season? They dig it and replant it and what have you for the new season. And I think they did do some drainage a couple of years ago. So it's nice to see there is investment. They've got the heat lamps that they're using now as well and other bits of equipment. So it's nice to see there's been a bit of investment and gone into the pitch, and you can see that. If you compare now in January to previous years gone by, I think you'll see that the pitch are in a much worse state of repair. Is that right? But yeah, it's nice to see that it's lasting pretty well. So I love using those sound effects, but I noticed from the last podcast that I had to wait for it to come on before I actually spoke. 'Cause it's good. Is that what you were going to say?
No, I was just going to say what we actually
got
need.
a delay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk.
We need to get Al greased up, hitting a gong. For that bit.
I'd love to see that.
The rank film thing.
Yeah. I remember that from Norman Wisdom films that I used to watch.
Yeah.
With my dad, The Stitching Time and what have you. If you've not seen any of them, they are black and white, but they're still absolutely brilliant. So any younger viewers and listeners or whatever, Ash, just give them sort of films a shout. So the gong. So if you can imagine it, if you close your eyes, I'm doing it myself now, and imagine a greased up bald man with quite a portly belly hitting it. You can envisage that if you want to. However, what we're going to do is the game that we're doing on all of these is guess that player. We've got Ash back on this week, who's notoriously good at these quizzes, but he might be on a bit of a delay, so you might have half a chance, Leon. Okay, so the first hint for this player. So again, for anybody who's new to this, it's just somebody who's played for Bradford City over the last 100 years or so, let's say. At least let's say one appearance. So this player, the first hint is that he signed for us after spending a previous season at Benfica. So Benfica was his club prior to joining for Bradford City. Obviously, it can be quite vague when I'm giving you these tips, and that's the idea of it. So you'll get more and more as we go through, but you can throw a guess at me if you want to.
Okay, cadet.
No, but I like it. Anything from you, Ash?
No, I've not got out yet.
Oh, okay, interesting. All right. So he has been relegated 8 times as a player. Is a second clue. Again, it's quite vague, but that is another clue that I'm giving you on this particular player. Again, throw a name at me if you want to. Can be anybody.
It's a bit of a cheap shot, but Felipe Maris.
Nope.
Didn't think so, but just Portuguese connection.
I like you going with that theme. Ash, anything from you?
No, not yet.
Oh, stumped you, mate. Look at this. And you do your own work, you want players. Right. He signed for City in August of 1999.
Dean Saunders.
Yes.
Brilliant. Well done.
Another use of my soundboard. Yeah, so the next few tips. Did you get that, Ash, by the way? No? Not yet.
No, I didn't get that, to be fair.
No. So the next tips that I'd have given you on this one would be that he's played 51 games for City, 5 goals and 1 assist. He's got a famous celebration with the walking stick that you might remember. He played for Galatasaray, Liverpool and Aston Villa, as well as obviously other clubs. He's won the FA Cup, the League Cup and also the Turkish Cup. When he signed for Galatasaray, funnily enough, he told his wife that he was off for Turkey on holiday for like a week or whatever. And this is when Graham Souness were the boss. And then he came back and said, "Oh, I've just signed for a club in Turkey." And she was absolutely dumbfounded. And the last tip was that he was born in Wales on the 21st June 1964. Good one, that, Leon. Well done.
Yeah. I'm surprised at the 8 relegations, though.
Yeah, do you know what I was? And I guess them first two tips, you're thinking of somebody that's probably a little bit a worse career, you might say.
Yeah.
But But yeah, 8 relegations. It's a lot, that, isn't it? If you think about how many seasons a player actually plays, what do you get really at the top level?
I mean, he probably
15
played
years,
about
10, 15 years.
16. Yeah, I would have thought. But
yeah,
It's like
that's like
Sarsvic's
half
promotion. It's a bit better, isn't it?
yeah.
yeah. Maybe Sarsvich will be talking about him in 10 years. Who got 8 promotions in the career, or 9 maybe. But yeah, well done. That's short on that feature down a little bit.
Since we've got a bit of time, then I'll just I wrote this one down for last time. Which City player or manager won the highest honour in the game? It's just you get a couple of guesses, then I'll just give it away because otherwise it'll be all night.
And when you say the highest honour, is that as a player or as a manager, or could it be either?
It could be either, but it is he won the highest honour as a player. But was he a City?
Mark Hughes.
No. Ash? He played in the 60s.
I'm blanking tonight. Oh.
And played for City in the 70s.
Do you know, there'll be people that will know this, that listen to this, because we've got all ages that listen along.
The one's my age.
Yeah. People with grey hair like you, mate. And bald heads.
Yeah,
Not that you've got a bald head. But...
I'm all right on that.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll put you out of the misery.
Go on.
It's Ray Wilson, England fullback. He won the World Cup in '66. He played for City once.
Did he? I was going to say.
And he was caretaker manager for about 2 weeks.
So that's why he played as player manager, sort of thing. Wow. So we have a former World Cup winner. And he's the only one, obviously, to win a World Cup that's ever played for City.
I would imagine so. I reckon Chris Waddle's probably come closest.
I'm thinking in Premier League time as well, if there's anybody that we signed obscure but no.
I don't think Bruno Rodriguez won the World Cup.
No, maybe not.
I nearly said him in quiz.
Yeah. I did actually, to be fair, Ash.
But yeah.
That's only who came in my head, to be honest.
I like the obscure ones. But Dean Saunders isn't that obscure, but that's a good question. That maybe I need to broaden the quiz and involve people from the older generations, but that'd leave us at a bit of a disadvantage as younger folk.
I wish I could help you with that, but then I'd know the answer.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we'll build something in. The other idea was guess whose forehead this is, but again, it'd involve having to have images on, and it doesn't really suit everybody. But or teeth, you could do guess whose teeth they are, but we'll leave that one for another day. Okay, so moving forward from the quiz and talking about that kind of stuff. Stefan Rupp obviously made some promises that he'd be a little bit more connected with the club, and we'll see him around the ground a little bit more, which I think we did towards the back end of last season and maybe at the start of this season, but that's kind of faded away a little bit. Now, is it a big deal that we're not seeing him? Or should it be that you hear from your chairman in good and bad times, and he maybe writes a monthly update or a 2-monthly update of how he thinks things are going and his thoughts and stuff like that? What are your thoughts on that, Ash? I'll come to you first of all.
To be honest, I don't really mind. To be honest, like I feel if he's got something he needs to tell us, then he'll tell us. He was a reluctant owner, really, wasn't he? So. Like I said, if he's got something to say, he can say it. Like I don't really need to hear from him all the time, to be honest.
Do you not think that following the promotion that he got like a newfound sort of love and desire for the club, and he said a lot of things in interviews, obviously after that point, and we saw the emotion pouring out of him when we did get promoted. Do you not think or expect that we'd see a little bit more from him, Ash, or do you just not really care that much as long as we're doing all right?
Yeah, maybe. I expected more just from how he reacted to it, but it was quite emotional for everyone, wasn't it? Really, like it might have worn off a little bit now.
Yeah,
now
motor racing's back or whatever. No, it never will it, for us? And it's absolute magic when you look back. But I guess for me, I'm probably in the same camp as you, and I'll ask Leon in a second about this, but I don't really care. But would I, if we were doing poorly and we'd not really done much in January and it were a poor window and we hadn't really invested anything when we're in a good position? I think January were good. I think a lot of this stuff, it speaks for itself in how the club are operating, and I think they're operating a lot better than they have in previous years. And he's quite happy sat back and to watch that happen. Leon, do you have a different opinion on that? Do you think we should hear from him? Are you on the same sort of wavelength as us?
Fortunately, for the sake of us having a bit of a debate, I'm in the same boat. I think things are going well at the moment. Obviously, December wasn't a great month, and start of January in terms of performances. Not all of December, obviously, but prior to the closing of the window, we'd hit a bit of a rocky patch. I think everybody's more likely to demand answers from him when things are really bad. And I think, the conversations on X this week, going back to, the protests of a few years ago, at times like that, it's important to hear from the guy who owns the club and who's pulling us, ultimately making the final decisions or employing the people that do that. I think it is really important to hear from people then. And I think at times in the past, some at the club have been guilty of hiding a little bit when things are going badly. But I don't think you can criticise the bloke for not speaking much. I understand what you both said as well about his apparent change of heart and re-enthused about being involved in the club, and I think it would be reassuring to hear from him ongoing. And I think the first thing I was thinking of when Ash was chatting, we used to have physical programs and the chairman would write in that every week, or every fortnight. And it might just be platitudes and, welcome to our visitors, blah, blah, blah. But it's a form of communication that is lacking these days. But I don't think it's a big deal at the moment. I think, like you said, the decisions that they've made, the appointment of Sharp, the recruitment, it kind of speaks for itself. So I think as long as he's happy and he's happy to, if he needs to underwrite any losses or anything like that, then I don't think we can have any complaints.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. And one of my comments back to you would be, before you said it, would it not just be nice for him to do a monthly newsletter just to say, letter from the chairman, blah, blah, so I think things are going. Thank you for your support in here, whatever. I think it would be good, and I don't think it'd harm him at all. And then you don't have that risk of getting that stick because you've already sort of had that communication. It's a less of a stick to beat you with. I know that there's a language barrier, but there's so many things that you can do to translate these days with and what have you. So yeah, the only other thing about that is that supporters board, they used to tweet about the minutes for the monthly meetings, and I'm not seeing anything in months and months about that and their meetings with Sparks and whoever. And I guess you're looking a little bit more for it when there's things ongoing and problems, and I'm probably not looking for it at the minute, but I've not seen anything unless I've missed it. But again, it would be nice to have a little bit more representation across the fan base for supporters to have that connection a little bit. Yeah. Not that we're putting our hands up for that because I'm quite happy talking about the club, but yeah, it would be nice to hear a little bit more about that and see who's involved and know a little bit about who's involved and have a little bit more of a diverse community of fans that are involved in that have different thoughts and feelings on the club and what they expect from the club. But again, you can go down a rabbit hole talking about that. Just the other thing to mention is that what I will say is that we are becoming more of an attractive proposition. I know we don't on the ground, and I know we don't have the training ground, but it's got momentum, the club. We're doing well in League One. It's an attractive proposition. Bradford Bulls are back in Super League. Whether you make that connection with rugby or not, it does make us more attractive as a city. And I think that, I know that people are looking into buying us all the time. There's massive amount of businessmen, businesswomen looking at clubs in English football. And when you look down the pyramid of who's got the potential, Bradford City are one of the clubs that you would suggest that haven't quite been bought by somebody who has mega money yet. So that will be interesting over the next 5 or 10 years if Rupp isn't that invested, if somebody else might come in and say, actually, I'll give you this money to take you forward. The other thing with the big Wrexham story and other clubs going down the route of sort of documenting what they're doing, it's a massive market, and I think Bradford City would be a fantastic club to do that for. Whether I'd like that or not's a different story, but as a story point and a Netflix, Amazon, whatever, it'd be a fantastic story. You know, this sort of working class city up north, diverse city. They're trying to take a club forward. I think it'd be such a good shout. But anyway, if you're watching Disney or whoever's out there, come and throw a few quid in. We're not going to complain too much. So yeah, any thoughts on that about being bought? Are you quite happy? Because some people always say like better the devil you know than the one that you don't. You know, we've seen clubs go bust and what have you. Any thoughts from you, Ash, on that? If somebody did come in, are you quite happy? We saw Wagme, that didn't end particularly well, I don't think, at Crawley. I don't know if they're there anymore. But yeah, on ownership models and what have you, and people buying us, would you like to see that happen?
Yeah, like you said, better the devil you know for me. Obviously, it would be nice to be taken over and, you know, be taken further with someone who has a lot more money. But I remember when Rahic and Rupp came in, I had a sinking feeling in my stomach for no real reason, just because we felt comfortable with Rhodes. I know it obviously wasn't really going anywhere, but we were safe with them. Like if someone comes in, like when Wagme got mentioned, I didn't want that. I did not want that at all. So yeah, it's an interesting one for me. I'd like it, but I'd be very cautious at the same time.
Yeah, it's a risk in it, whatever in football it is, and when you're thinking about American owners or rich oil merchants, I think it is a concern. German owners, again, it's a different country, and I guess you're always concerned when somebody else comes in. When you've got Mark Lawn at the club, Julian Rhodes, who potentially support the club, you probably feel a bit safer than somebody you don't know at all. Leon, any thoughts from you on ownership?
Yeah, it's on the sort of the prospect of a big money takeover. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because obviously, number one, where does the money come from? You know, what is the sort of the moral background of that organisation or that group of people? That can have a bearing on whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. You know, some people aren't bothered. You know, some people would be happy for Vladimir Putin or Donald Trump to buy the club as long as it meant they were successful. Do you know what I mean? And it's a valid argument. Yeah. Other people would be like, well, I'd stop going if it was X, Y, or Z that took over. I wouldn't enjoy the Wrexham bloody
Disney fairy tale.
Yeah,
Hollywood,
all that.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. We are just prime sat there for somebody like that to pick. Even stuff like the colours. Do you know what I mean? There's only two clubs in Britain that play in those, you know, pro clubs in Britain that play in those colours. And I think there's been conversations on X this week or last week about why have we never had, you know, piggybacked on shirt deals with clubs like Roma and Galatasaray, because basically there's 4 clubs in Europe playing these colours. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, you'd have to just take everything, you know, evaluate whatever comes up at the time, wouldn't you? You know, you can't say, I just want to stick with Rupp because I'm scared of what's out there. And that's not dissing what you've just said, Ash. I totally get what you're saying. But we could get a shining knight who's ace in all aspects. Or you could get somebody shady who, you know, promises everything and delivers nothing. It's interesting you talked about like the fact that we've got German owners, but as we know, Rahic targeted an English club because in Germany he wouldn't have been able to get control of the whole club. You know, they have the 51% rule, don't they, where the fans have to own 51%. So, yeah, I'm amazed that there's been no sort of well-to-do American pickers up yet, because, you know, they're buying clubs like Gillingham, you know, and that's no disrespect to Gillingham, you know, but the potential is, I mean, maybe they don't have a great deal of money but it's at their level, you know, like let's take an English club and build them up as far as we can. But I think you're right. We've been in the doldrums more than any club our size, or longer than any club our size, and I think that's on its own, given how the way the crowds have held up over the last few years, that is the reason why we'll be an attractive proposition. So I think you just have to suck it and see whatever turned up.
Yeah, I agree. I just think I think would be, like you say, really, really attractive. You've got the rivalries, on your doorstep. You've got Leeds and Huddersfield, pretty much. You've got like a triangle of Yorkshire clubs, and I think that in itself would be attractive enough. You've been in the Premier League before, trying to get them back up to the Premier League would be a story, like the Sunderland one, and they've obviously got there now. So yeah, I don't know if I'd be totally against it. But I just think the Wrexham one's a little bit too OTT, and you probably lose your club a little bit because they've got fans all over the world now, and it's very much like, it sounds silly, but they're looked at in America like Man United because there's fans that invested in it because of the show, and you would get that global sort of, look into it. And I guess maybe that's the route they're going down with these visits to America and stuff. But yeah, we'll see. But I wouldn't be massively against it, I wouldn't say. Okay, let's move on to the Stockport game. So that is tomorrow. We're obviously on Monday now as we're recording. We're coming off really, really good result, really good performance. But we're going in to playing a team that are probably much better and much more well prepared and in really good form. I think they've won, I think they're unbeaten in 6 or something in the league, something like that. And I think they've won 4 of those 6 games. So they've sort of on a real positive curve and did well last season, obviously got to the playoffs and what have you. One of the fancied teams. We're good at home. We're playing well on the last performance. And if we play like that, I think we beat them. Ash, what are your thoughts on the Stockport game? Do you think we'll go at them exactly the same? Do you think we'll set up the same? Just thoughts in general about the game tomorrow night.
Yeah, I just hope we take some confidence from that Peterborough game. Start fast, hopefully get an early goal. And just keep at it, really. It'd be really disappointing if we, went into that game and dropped off from that intensity that we know we have. I'd definitely keep the same team as well. You can't make any changes to that. Like, just let them go out there and show us what they can do again.
So you just keep it exactly the same? You won't change anything in that lineup?
Get Evans in for power, but other than that, yeah, go again.
Do you think that when we played Cardiff at home a couple of weeks ago that we showed them a little bit too much respect and there's a fear that we might do that with Stockport, or do you think that we'll play the way that we know we can based on Saturday's performance, Ash?
Yeah, we probably did with Cardiff. I'm just hoping we've took a lot of confidence from that Peterborough game. We could have easily got 5 goals there, couldn't we? So just go out there, start as you mean to go on.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we said, that fast start is our sort of trump card a little bit. And when we do start fast and get us foot on ball and get a little bit of confidence early doors, it seems to sort of take us through the rest of the game. Leon, what are your thoughts, mate, on tomorrow night? Do you think we'll start the same, and do you think we'll set up the same and play the same way?
Well, I'd obviously hope we would. I had a quick look at their squad, and I'm not particularly knowledgeable about their players other than like Norwood and Wootton, and obviously Wootton scored a good few goals this season. But I don't know them. I've obviously not watched Stockport other than against us, so I don't know much about them. They're obviously a couple of places or a couple of points above us. I think it comes back to, as Ash says, and as we touched on at the start, how important confidence is in football, and being prepared to take risks. And I think we're at our absolute worst when we're not prepared to take a risk. So if you think, the games recently where, I always keep harking back to Lincoln, but it was an archetype of how not to play for this set of players. We just launched it long every single time, taking no responsibility. And whether that's you lay the blame at the foot of the player with the ball or players who are not showing for that player. But yeah, I think this team plays best on the front foot, and hopefully they go out with that mentality. I'm not sure he'd probably start, obviously power accepted, Evans is most likely to come in for him. I can't see him starting the exact same other 10. It was noticeable that Bobby did 90 minutes on Saturday, and it's not often he does 90 minutes really.
He looked tired, didn't he, for the last 10?
He did, yeah. We'd made a lot of other changes. And I think, he's obviously at his, I don't know why, but he's obviously at his best at home. He scored all his goals at home this season. And I wonder if maybe he'd switch it round and have Bobby coming on for the last half an hour because he does seem to tend to make his changes about half an hour to go, unless everything's gone tits up and he's had to make changes at half time, which he does sometimes as well. But 60 minutes tends to be his kind of go-to. So yeah, I think he'll start Jackson up front again, and I think the back three and the wide players, I think they'll probably be the same. I think it might be the two wide forwards that are going to change.
Torre might drop out, I guess. I know they said that he's all right, and he pretty much and he's fine to play, but maybe they'll drop him out just to put somebody else in to get some minutes in the legs. Yeah, because there's no harm in doing that. Tyreek Wright again had a fantastic game at the weekend, and no problem with him playing in there. His Humphreys might come back in, but I can't see him changing that number 9 position because Jackson were really good, especially the first half. So we'll see. I think on Saturday, though, tomorrow, I think it'll be 1-1 lost in the midfield. I think that's the key area. If Metcalfe plays like he did, and Power can play like Evans did, I think we win the game. And I think that's the heartbeat, and that's where everything's either gone wrong or right over these last sort of few weeks in games. And it was really easy to see that on Saturday because two of your best players were Power and Metcalfe by a mile. So hopefully they've got confidence in hopefully Metcalfe's got the confidence and Evans comes in and plays like they did, because I think that'll be key. So you've covered my question about the front three being the same. So we've sort of discussed that. We've obviously then got Wimbledon on Saturday, followed by Rotherham and Reading. So probably a little bit of an easier run. It's like we've hit the harder fixtures. I think Reading are on a bit of a run, to be fair to them. They were near bottom, weren't they, when their new manager went in. He's got them on a bit of a roll. But probably Wimbledon and Rotherham, you might say, a little bit easier fixtures based on who we have played. What do you expect, Ash, to happen over these next sort of week and a half of fixtures, mate? Do you think we'll pick up quite a few points, or do you think it might be a bit of a struggle?
It's hard to say, really, because Wimbledon's not usually a happy hunting ground for us. Rotherham, I used to got PTSD from when we used to play them back in the day when we had that little rivalry with them. Reading are actually just on brink at playoffs now as well. So yeah, it's easier, but not the easiest run of fixtures, really.
But no fixtures are in League One. I mean, we compare it to League Two, and we had games that are easier. Likes a Newport, maybe you might throw in there, where you think you've got half a chance of at least getting, 0.3 points. But every game's tough. But based on our season, we would beat early doors and the way we played, if we start picking that form up again from now, you'd like to think we can beat anybody based on how we played on Saturday. So, yeah, we'll see, I guess, is probably the key thing to say. Leon, any thoughts from you, mate, on them?
Well, just thinking about it, one thing that was really noticeable about the game on Saturday is that we were playing good quality balls in behind, and we obviously had the pace to exploit that with Jackson and then Wheatley. But I can't be sure if we'd scouted out that they play with a high line, and that's why we did it, because we haven't been doing that recently. Clearly, Humphreys isn't the player to do that. So when he was, the first choice number 9 or the best available at the time, that's not his game. He's not motoring over 30 yards. He's more of a technical player in and around players. So I don't know if that was a horses for courses approach, or if that's what we're going to be playing like. If we're going to be playing like that and teams don't wise up to it, which it would be good if we could find that slightly different way of playing that we've played compared to what we played before. Because previously it was all about the press in the early part of the season. But that's more of what we saw on Saturday, was more counter-attacking almost. And we haven't really mentioned him, I think you mentioned him once, but Tyreek Wright deserves a lot of credit for his recent performances, and I thought he was excellent on Saturday. He did a goal line clearance, blocked one on the line in the second half. But he was pinging balls like Baldwin. There was one that he put over the top for when Jackson he'd come short and then curled round, so he timed his run perfectly. That's the one where Jackson was through and he had two options on his right, but he went for the shot. But that kind of move is not something that we've been doing recently. But we're kind of lumping it really aimlessly, like either for an aerial challenge or over the top, but beyond anybody's hope of getting, just to then sort of try and press. So that's the interesting thing for me. Was that a horses for courses approach for the Peterborough game, or is that something that they've been working on? Right, this is how we're going to try and approach the remaining games. And if it is, I think we've got half a chance, really.
Yeah. And I guess talking about half a chance, we're very bipolar, aren't we, in these podcasts, where one week we'll say we're doing all right, we've got a chance of automatics. Then we're saying we're out of playoff race completely if we lose this game. We're very much in the mix, win a game one week, lose a game. If you do that, if you win all your home games now, pretty much, I think we probably would be in the playoffs, what we've got left. And getting odd points away is probably going to be enough. We've obviously survived relegation, so that's good this season. So at least we've got another season in League One, worst case scenario. But yeah, I guess looking at a prediction side of thing, Ash, what do you think tomorrow night holds for us? What do you think the score's going to be, and any particular key moments or scorers?
Yeah, maybe 2-1.
Leon?
I was thinking 2-1 as well. I think we'll probably go 1 up. They'll pull one back, and then we'll get a winner. And I think Wheatley's going to score.
Wow, that's interesting. Maybe the winner late on. Yeah, I'm of the same thinking. I think it'll be a close game. They're no mugs. I think they'll come to win the game. And we see some teams, or we used to see teams in League Two that come and sit back and frustrate us, but we don't see that much this season. So I think it'll be a tight game, but I think it'll be 2-1, or maybe even 3-1. Depends how we set up. But yeah, tough game ahead of us. Hopefully we'll reconvene in about a week's time. We're obviously in that time we'll play Stockport tomorrow and Wimbledon on Saturday. 4 points, I think, could be a really good result from them two games, considering one of them is an away game. And hopefully Neufeld has an absolute stormer down at Wimbledon against his old club. Other than that, we'll leave it there. Thank you all, as always, for listening along to these podcasts. If you can like and subscribe on whatever platform you're watching it on, it would be massively appreciated. But thank you very much again. All the best, and see you next time.